Hello everyone and welcome back to Nate the Hoof Guy. Today's video we are treating a cow who's got a lesion near her white line in her right front foot. Now this is going to be kind of an interesting video because I'm going to be able to show you exactly how this lesion formed. We have some questions sometimes whether the lesions form from the outside working in or if they work from the inside and work out. And this video is going to illustrate that perfectly with this lesion, so stick with us and we'll show you how this goes. So pay particular attention to where this lesion is right now or where this marking is. You can see where this crack is now. It's going to actually be much higher as where the actual lesion itself is. And if you were to look back closely when I started this video, the mark was actually even lower, kind of closer to where that little hemorrhage spot is, lower in the foot. And as each layer that I remove, you'll notice that that's going to continue to go higher and higher and higher. That's evidence of this lesion is actually forming from the inside and working its way out through layers over time. As that hoof is produced, and that junction is produced between that outside wall and that sole, that once that connection is made, that begins as it grows to move down the foot toward the toe. And that's how we get toe length on a cow. It grows from the inside and works outward. You'll notice with this lesion, it started, the markings on the sole when we started were way about midpoint in the foot. But as I carve away, you'll notice those go away and we go higher, and the marks keep going higher and higher and higher until eventually I get to that lesion way up high in the foot. That may have been a little confusing, so I'm going to break it down even more. The lesion starts inside the foot. It's creating pore horn, but as the foot grows, that pore horn, which is that crack we saw at the beginning, begins to move down the foot. And that continues to happen each layer over time. That moves further and further down the hoof, that crack. And that's why when you start to see it, when we remove it the other way, it works its way back up the toe and goes right to that lesion spot. It's because over time, since that lesion started, it's been creating pore horn, which is creating a crack in there. The reason we can't see that crack is because it hadn't filled in with manure or blood or anything else from that lesion on the outside. We couldn't see it yet. But once that crack made its way all the way to the outside, it was visible from the outside, then as we worked that line connected all the way back up to the lesion from that pore horn formation. So here you can get a good look of the lesion itself that actually started this whole process. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to rewind. I'm going to start this video back over at the beginning. I'm going to go through everything that we've done so far in high speed, and you're going to actually be able to see that crack move and direct and point right to this lesion spot. Here it is again, a little bit slower. So this is pretty common, and this is what happens with most white line lesions. Had this been something that happened from the outside and worked in, it would be a direct line basically directly to the lesion, because all of those layers of hoof would move in unison, would move together to create the interior problem. Meaning if it was a rock in that white line and working its way in, it wouldn't create a problem until that rock got to the corium. And because all those layers are moving in unison, that when that rock did penetrate through all those layers and hit the corium, that's when she would become lame. And when we cut it and excise that area out, that's what we would see as a direct path to that lesion. That's not to say that rocks don't follow that path or that these cracks inward, because they do. It's just evidence that the lesion or the problem was already existed before the rock got there, if it does track the same way as these abscesses do. The next obvious question to ask is do all of these cracks then point to an abscess? And the answer is no. A lot of these issues that create these imperfections in that white line can be resolved internally without a problem arising eventually. You can have damage in the white line and have it heal on its own. You can have trauma inside that foot where the cow actually will change the way she walks a little bit to take pressure off that area, and then that trauma will go away and she'll begin producing new horn. And just simply maintenance trimming the foot will redistribute the pressures in that foot and take that trauma away. So the only time I really remove those cracks is if they're wide and something could get caught in them. If they're causing distortions in the sole or in the white line, then I remove them. Or if I think that because the horn is so poor that it's going to eventually cause a problem, then I'm going to remove it. Otherwise, those superficial cracks that I leave are going to simply wear away with time, and they don't lead to anything anyway. So I'm going to avoid having a big hole cut in the side of the foot and disturbing that integrity between that outside wall and that sole, that junction there where we get some weight transfer. So I don't want to do that if I don't have to. I don't want to thin out that area if it's not necessary. So that's why I leave those superficial cracks and why I take away the ones that are a little deeper. Here, I'm just trying to keep that lesion down a little bit when I work so I don't cut into it. And here you can get a good look at that lesion before I wrap it up. It's sure not very big, but big enough to cause problems. I'm using salicylic acid powder here just in case there might be some digital dermatitis on that lesion, and that'll take care of that. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. As always, thanks for watching, and we will see you all on the next one.